At two things I've got for you on this Sunday. It's a special edition. It'll be quick, less than 10 minutes. I'm Tristan. I'm out of Los Angeles, California, and we're going to go into two things. One, we've got 32 experts that are chiming in on the real estate market. I want to take a look at some of that. That just came out. And then Corelogic just came out with a new interactive map that increased their data from where April was to where they have the data now in May. And it looks very interesting because some of it shows that some housing in some of these areas could be at risk of dropping in price. And let's jump right into it. The very first thing I'm going to show you is an article by Insider. And this one is behind a paid wall, so you may not be able to see it, even though I'll put it into the YouTube link. Do me a favor and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Here's what it says. Are we in a housing bubble? We asked 32 experts and most said no. Most said no. I'll show you how many. They explained their answer and offer insight about what we could see with the housing prices in the coming months. So the thing that stood out for me on this one was this, and I'll zoom in really quick for you. Here, you're going to see in the US, is the US experiencing a real estate bubble? Out of the 32, 6 said yes, 22 said no, and 4 said maybe. And so I want to show you a couple that I thought stood out for me. One of them that was my favorite one answered it probably like I would answer it. Rick Sharga, Executive Vice President of Market Intelligence at Adam. And if you know Adam, they collect a lot of data on housing. He says, well, first, let's all be honest about this. This is why it was my favorite. The only time anybody really knows if you're in a housing bubble is after it bursts. And I laughed. I was like, damn, that's pretty true. So no matter how smart any of us think we are, we're all kind of speculating. And that's why that one was my favorite one. I mean, that's the truth, right? Because who knows what can happen next. With the data that we do have, though, we can make more intelligent speculations as to what will happen. And that's what I'm trying to do on a daily basis here. So let's dive right into it. Just a few more minutes. Here's one of my favorite ones, too, even though it's typically different than what I believe. His name is David Rosenberg, President, Chief Economist at Rosenberg Research. If you follow him, he's very bullish about this actually being a bubble. Here's what he says. He says, we are in a housing bubble that rivals or even perhaps takes out the mania that took hold in the mid-2000s. The leverage is less acute, but the price action is equally parabolic and out of sync with the underlying fundamentals that typically drive residential real estate valuations. If you want to know more about what he says, just Google him. He's very adamant about this being a bubble. David Rosenberg, I've been reading a lot of his stuff. To me, I'm still more in the middle, leaning towards, obviously, this isn't a bubble. And this one, Don Layton, Senior Industry Fellow at Harvard's Joint Center for Housing Studies, makes a very good statement here. Many people like to fight the last war. Makes total sense, right? Because that's what we're all comparing it to. The bubble in 2007 and 2008 is universally regarded as stemming from here it is, loose lending and a generative speculative mania in housing. And I want that, I'll shift over. There's 32 of them. I'm not going to go over all 32. I will put the link up though, so it's on the YouTube description. But just think, there's both sides. 6 of them said yes, right? The majority of them said no, and they all use data. You can see the data in here. That's why I love this one. But there's one article I really want to go deeper into that's showing how the market is shifting a little bit just from April to May. And there's an interactive map on this one. Just follow along with me here for 5 more minutes. And here's what it starts like. This one's by Fortune. And Fortune, let me stop sharing really quick. Fortune magazine has just become my favorite magazine to find real estate news from. And I'm really surprised at the quality of journalism they do when it comes to the research for the housing market. So good job, Fortune. The odds of a home price correction just spiked. This interactive chart shows if your local housing market is at risk. So let's get right into it. There's no way around it. It says the Federal Reserve is going to get runaway inflation back under control. At least we hope so, right? It's going to cause some economic damage along the way. And we're already seeing it with the stock market, right? But we're already seeing it in the US market slow down. housing market slowed down in the face of spiking rates. We've seen that a little bit. Mortgage applications are declining. Yes, they are. We showed that in our last video. I think it was 2 days ago. Fewer listings are getting multiple offers. That's true. We still see multiple offers, but just not as many. And inventory levels are rising again in different parts of the US. I'll add that. However, that's a deceleration. Pay attention, right? A deceleration, meaning prices are going up at a more modest rate, not a price correction. See that? They're even saying, hey, this is not what you think it is, right? It's not going to just fall all of a sudden and you can get a home that was worth, let's say, 800,000 for 400,000 in the coming year. So no, very different. Here, scroll down. Corelogic looked at 392 US markets in April and found that 17 regional housing markets had a greater than 40% chance of seeing local home prices decline over the next 12 months. In one of the videos I did 3 weeks ago, we showed that exact interactive map. Now, this is what changed. It says now 70 regional housing markets have a greater than 40% chance of home prices dropping over the coming 12 months. And that's what got my attention there. I wanted to see what was happening, and then I'll show you exactly here, because these are the research from assessed factors like, this is what they did research on, income growth projections, right? Projections, unemployment forecasts, right? Forecasts, notice the words, consumer confidence, debt to income ratios, and affordability and mortgage rates and inventory levels. Now, with that, I want to show you here the 5 things and then go into the map. Here are the groupings used for the May analysis. You'll see very high, over 70%, high 50 to 70, medium 40, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to show you the map because that's personally my favorite part. Here we go. The odds of regional home prices dropping over the coming year. And it's important to note here because I'm also going to go over with you like the 4 or 5 areas that they're saying, hey, these areas are super high. And that's where we're looking, the little red areas. And if you notice those, most of the red and pink areas were the areas that people moved to during the beginning of the pandemic, middle of the pandemic, right? The only area that's not red and pink where a lot of people move to is Florida, right? And we know that area like Miami is still super hot. So prices are still going up, still multiple offers. So this is all regional. I want you to understand that real estate at any point in time is all regional. One area could be dropping in prices and another area could be rising with multiple offers. So you can never really say, hey, all of the United States is having a challenge, because that would be an error. So going back here, I'm going to show you. As we hover through this, we see Lake Havasu is very high according to this map. And Prescott Valley in Arizona is very high. Look at this little area out of Oregon, Bend, Oregon. Boise, Idaho, which a lot of people from Los Angeles and California move to, is high, but not very high. And then as we scroll over here, Bridgeport, Stamford, Norwalk, Connecticut, that little area. And so now we start looking at what's low and very low, where chances are very, very high that those places won't be affected at all, right? So now we see the darker blue areas, right? A lot of Florida, which you get to see. You're listening to some YouTubers and some of the media say, well, dang, Florida grew so much. There's got to be a price correction there, right? But they're not taking into consideration the inventory. There's a massive lack of inventory, which we showed you in like 3-4 videos before. I can't take like 10 hours to show you all the videos I've done with all the research and data. Go watch all of that because I have it all in there. Now, going back here, we're going to wrap this up now. We're going to show you at the bottom. It says Corelogic categorized only 4 markets as having very high likelihood of price drops, which I showed you. Bend, Prescott, Lake Havasu, and Bridgeport, Connecticut. Here's where it ends, and then I'll end it with you here for the weekend. While Corelogic finds the odds of a home price corrections are rising, it still believes nationwide home prices will inch higher over the coming year, right? That's the data they have. Between March 2022 and March 2023, And my dog agrees with me. Corelogic predicts US home prices will rise another almost 6%, right? Even with this data. Now you are noticing that month to month things are changing because we're getting more data. Plus, we don't even know if we're in the middle of a recession or not. And if we are in a recession, how deep is the recession? We won't know until those numbers are out beginning of July. So look, sit tight, keep on seeing what you're seeing. Remember that this is all regional. Like in my area, we're still seeing multiple offers. In other areas, it's slowing down, like in Atlanta. Some of my friends in Atlanta are saying, hey, not the same as it was. So just pay attention. Do not freak out. Don't listen to the alarmists. Pay attention to the data and then formulate your own decision. Follow me for more. I'm going to keep on dropping information almost every day. I took the day off yesterday. Have an